Dear all, welcome to our webinar again. So now we are starting it, and I would like to maybe give the floor to the session moderator, Maciej Hoffman, our colleague and partner from the European Commission, Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. Maciej, please.
Thank you very much, Katya. Can you all hear me and see me? The first important question. Perfect. Hello to everyone. I'm very happy to be your moderator for this session, for this exciting project that the European Commission is conducting together with OECD. I come from Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture Policy Unit, and I'm going to be your guide and moderator for this exciting session, in which we are going to look at specific case studies that address the question of entrepreneurial learning for culture and creative sectors. Just to tell you very briefly where the European Union comes in when we think about this topic. As probably many of you know, the role of the European Union when it comes to cultural cooperation is not by any means to impose anything specific on member states. And this is very clearly defined in EU treaties, which say that the role of the EU is to help address common challenges that exist across the member states and regions and cities in Europe. But this is very much true that the topic of our discussion is such a challenge that is common and shared by many of the member states. And to give you also a very specific example here, if you look at Work Plan for Culture from 2019 to 2022, adopted by European Union culture ministries. This is a document negotiated every few years by culture ministries coming together with the Commission to decide on important topics that will be addressed by the EU. The topic of ecosystem supporting artists, culture and creative professionals is there. And among this, of course, the very important issue of skills. You might have also heard already about the study that the European Commission launched and published last year on working conditions and status of artists and cultural professionals. And one of the specific topics was actually the question of entrepreneurship and career development for artists and creative people. And some of the findings of this report and this study were that entrepreneurs in cultural and creative sectors are often more driven by the content rather than commercial purposes. At the same time, majority of enterprises that are active in cultural and creative sectors are, as we were already discussing at this event, mostly micro enterprises and self-employed professionals. And there seems to be a double motivation behind the high rate of entrepreneurship in cultural and creative sectors. First of all, of course, we can look and think that the artists and professionals in cultural sectors see the market opportunities that exist and want to seize these opportunities. But on the other hand, of course, many of them are in a way pushed. It's a gravitating force that pushes them to face this market reality. So they might be, of course, reluctant to face it, but they are nevertheless having to face it as part of their development and have to establish careers as entrepreneurs. And I'm very happy that today we will be able to show you 4 very specific cases. We'll be traveling from Scotland to Belgium, throughout Germany, Italy, and Portugal to show you some of these examples. And as a first one to start, I'm very happy that we'll be starting with the case from Scotland. Our host today, in fact, at this event, will hear about the SHIFT program, which is a collaborative project between 3 higher educational institutions in Scotland, as well as Creative Entrepreneurs Club. And we have 4 speakers with us: Rachel Brown, founder and CEO of the Creative Entrepreneurs Club, together with Libby Anson from Glasgow School of Art, Miriam Smith from Queen Margaret University in Edinburgh, and Deborah Keogh from Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. So Rachel, I'm very happy to give you the screen. There are 4 of you, so you will have to see how you want to divide your presentation, but you have roughly 20 minutes to tell us about your experience and share your example with the participants. So please, Rachel, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And We're actually all over Scotland at the moment, although we're all based and focused in and around the Central Belt, predominantly Glasgow. We're all scattered around Scotland. So it's a very warm welcome from far and wide at the moment. I am going to kind of try and hold us together. We have got so much to talk about. This is a truly inspirational project, and I'm delighted that Libby, Miriam and Deborah will be able to talk a bit more about it in some detail, and they're also inspirational people. And I think that that's a key point that we want to get across today around collaborative co-production and genuine partnership. The impact on the students has been extraordinary and quite transformational, and I think we can all safely say that without coming together, this project wouldn't be as productive and as impactful as it has been. In order to set some context, we're going to show you a short 3-minute film, and then we're going to hear from Libby, we're going to hear from Miriam, and we're going to hear from Deborah. Take it away, please.
Shift is a unique collaborative training programme for students and recent graduates from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, the Glasgow School of Art and Queen Margaret University.
The job market for the creative industries is very difficult at the moment, as it's a very fragmented market.
Especially now that we have COVID, we need as much creativity as possible to make sure that the job market remains vibrant and relevant.
Having something that was really built and designed for creative thinkers is really unique.
Yeah, get comfy. You are in the right place for Shift. Good morning. Very exciting times.
At QMU, I studied Arts Festival and Cultural Management.
I did study jewellery and silversmithing in the Glasgow School of Art.
And I'm studying in Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, Contemporary Performance Practice.
We wanted to continue to run Shift, and online seemed to be the perfect platform to continue to engage the students and also to increase the student participation.
This year, we're using different online platforms like Zoom, Slack, a specialized website, icebreakers, to really make sure that we're still creating that same sense of community.
I think it's very well organized. All the resources are kept. It's very easy to keep on track. I think that creatives relate to the job market in different ways.
I thought Shift would give me the side of business, how we can create businesses doing performance.
My undergraduate, it's not something where we had classes where we were sat down and taught how to market ourselves or how to build a brand or how to promote your name.
Throughout this week, they'll go on a journey, starting with determining their core values, their goals, and then they're going to head into the nitty-gritty details of how they set up their work, how they find customers, create a marketing and social media plan. And hopefully by the end of the week, everyone who's participated in Shift will be able to tie it all together and have a clear set of steps to start on their path in the creative industries.
These are worthwhile tools for the rest of your life.
Participants will also meet the other participants who are coming from a range of disciplines, but also our expert team of speakers.
So the expertise which they are sharing with us has been amazing.
All the speakers, they have lots of knowledge and they are very passionate of what they do, so it's kind of contagious.
I can talk about all of these ideas till the cows come home.
There's so many people that want to have a positive impact on society somehow as well. That's one of the biggest things that I have been energized by.
Shift is about that progression from what do I want to do and how do I bridge the gap between where I am now and where I would really like to be with my creative practice in a way that means I'm not only surviving, I'm thriving, and I'm also making a difference to the wider community and in some cases, the world.
So hopefully that gives you a kind of context as to what we do. Just before I hand over to Libby, it's worth saying that This was 120 students across 4 time zones with 40 speakers, something that could only be achieved online, and the inclusivity that was created and the impact that was created could have only happened by doing this digitally. So it's been quite a transformational journey. But we have an origin story, and I'd like to bring in Libby Anson to kick us off with that, who is from Glasgow School of Art. Come on in, Libby.
Hello, everybody. I still actually get goose pimples when I see that film, because it reminds me of the power of collaboration, literally, and what's possible. And the feedback we've got from our participants, you'll hear more about, but it's kind of transformational, which is amazing, particularly given where we started, which was back in 2018. So Deborah from RCS and I were very interested in a program that was actually being run by the University of the Arts London called Moderator. It was a digital program that was very exciting in the way that it was actually delivered. And so we worked with the team who delivered that to bring it to Glasgow and include students from the Glasgow School of Art and the Conservatoire. And you may or may not know that the Glasgow School of Art has suffered 2 fires, the bigger of which was in 2018, just before we wanted to run our combined programme, which meant, in a way, it was good fortune, because the Conservatoire came even more to the rescue and not only collaborated with us on that programme, but they enabled us to have a venue to actually deliver it from. And not only that, they allowed us to use one of their magnificent theatres to be able to do the launch at the end of that programme. In 2018, I wanted to tack on an extra programme at the end of module, a week long, to focus on how creative students could apply all kinds of professional development learning to their own practice. And again, during that week, we delivered that from the Royal Conservatoire, and we had Conservatoire students with us. And Deborah and I thought this had something in it and we should do it again. And that is the point at which Miriam joined us, because she wanted to get involved as well. And so the first shift, as we know it now, in 2019 was born. It was a physical version of the programme. It was a huge learning curve. We involved the Creative Entrepreneurs Club as well, principally because Medea Cohan had been speaking at the first shift, and she was clearly interested to get the Creative Entrepreneurs Club involved. So Shift has metamorphosized into this big, exciting thing, which, because of COVID, we knew we would need to take online. And at that point, we wanted to involve the module team again because of their technical expertise and the exciting ways in which they enabled a different way of learning to evolve. So now it's become this big collaboration of the 3 higher education institutions, Creative Entrepreneur Club, and what are essentially a group of freelance consultants, technical people, people who are skilled at delivering exciting programs online. And we all work together to produce what you've now got a taste of. So I think I've probably spoken more than I should, but let's move on. And I believe I am now passing over to Miriam, who's going to tell us more about the impact of Shift.
Yeah, brilliant. And just, Miriam, come on in, and just as you unmute yourself, just for an additional bit of context, one of the really important things that has happened to Shift is that everybody plays to their strengths, and that's what makes the collaboration so impactful and powerful. So there is the technical expertise, there is my colleagues and I that work alongside that are bringing in speakers and knowledge and skills, and then there's the specialist institutions, and it's that wonderful mix of everybody coming together and playing to their strengths that has really made it impactful. And that's the segue into Miriam, because the wonderful mix doesn't just stop with the collaborative partners. That's actually about the students as well. Miriam, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, Rachel, I think that's a really, really important point. Just to give a little bit of background about the three institutions, we come with very different students. So Glasgow School of Art has architecture, they have fine art, they have design, they have textiles. You know, RCS is about music, drama, dance, ballet. Queen Margaret is all about theatre, performance, film and media, arts and cultural management, costume design. So the students come with a huge range of backgrounds and knowledge and skills about their own particular areas of expertise. And I think one of the really good things is bringing them all together, putting them into that room and making them network, making them understand things, building their soft skills, building their ability to communicate with each other, taking them out of their comfort zone and really making them, as I think Andrew said in the previous panel, making them build their personal brand and making them be able to work online and network online and develop all the soft skills, which is about their confidence, their own belief that they can do things, how they can do things with others, collaborating with others. All of those skills I think are very important. But I think one of the key successes of Shift is the fact that creative students, they don't like to speak in a business speak. They like to be spoken from a creative point of view. And I think the whole program, from how we've developed it online, really plays to this. And it really teaches them the essence of what they need in terms of their practical skills from becoming a student, from taking them from a student, through all the business knowledge and all of that they need to become a creative freelancer, but it speaks to them in a different way. It speaks to them from a creative point of view. All of the speakers and Moderator and all of the team really come from the creative backgrounds, and I think that's a real difference, right? So we're not teaching them the dry, boring kind of practical business. Well, we are the practical business skills, but we're teaching them in a different way, and we're teaching them in a way that they can understand and makes them comfortable with it. So the journey from their start to where, you know, knowing about what they want to do, understanding their creative skills, and taking them through a journey which will actually make them think about the practical skills, but also the soft skills of what they need. And, you know, Andrew said one of the ways, and the last panel was about networking online. This really does that. We also ran a Slack channel, as well as the workshops and the electives that we had with creative experts. And the Slack channel also got them networking, sharing their ideas, creating things online. And I think it really created a buzz around the program as well. So I think that was very important to create that kind of network and community, and really to give them the peer-to-peer learning as well, which I think is good. So I think it was a whole balance of things, from peer learning to structured workshops to talking in the way that they could understand and not make them nervous about things, and really giving them the confidence that they can actually go and create their own creative practice and add value into the world and really be successful. And I think that that's been a really powerful message. And I think the coming together of the three institutions, both from the institutional point of view, but from the student point of view, has been a real success in that, and has really played a strong part in the success of Shift. And the partnership between the three institutions is just great. It's really worked very, very well.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you.
I think that's my time kind of said. You know, I really feel passionate about the partnership and what it's delivered.
And I think that's a great point, because the partnership is an equal partnership. There is no dominant partner in any one. And I think that's sometimes incredibly tricky to do across departments, never mind to be able to do across institutions. So working alongside Deborah and Libby and Miriam has been a real joy for us, because it's equitable and actually everybody's allowed to contribute. I think one of the key things before bringing in Deborah to highlight is the way that it's structured allows for everybody to participate in a way that's comfortable to them. Yes. So when you're in the room and you're live, generally speaking, you may have people that feel comfortable about speaking up in large rooms, or people that have dominant personalities, for whatever better way to describe it. And actually what Shift has done is it allows people to communicate in multiple different ways. Yes. So if you're more comfortable being on the Slack channel, you can. If you're more comfortable contributing on the live panel, you can. And actually this has made the learning much broader and much more inclusive than we could ever have hoped and imagined. And I think that's having those multiple channels and those multiple touch points for the students to communicate and learn actually has opened our eyes to what's possible. Potentially we weren't doing enough before. Can I just ask, sorry, Miriam, I'm just going to ask you to put yourself on mute before I bring in Deborah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Rachel, I totally agree with that. And I think actually delivering it online has really enhanced that opportunity for the students, for some of them who are confident and some of them who aren't confident. Really.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the key thing as well about what Miriam made a great point about the language that was used, and I think that's an incredibly important piece to touch on, and Deborah's going to come and talk about impact and the evaluation process and how impactful that was. But the language was really, really crucial, not because we didn't want to share business language, but in true kind of business chat, we knew our customer. So we knew exactly how to engage across all of the speakers and all of the collaborative parts of the project, how to engage in the right language that got the best experience for the students. And I think that's absolutely critical, because it's not about teaching creatives business, it's about enabling the creatives to realise their full potential, and what are the skills and tools they need in their toolkit to go on and flourish. We live in a multi-flexing world at the moment, and I think, as well as my colleagues here do, think that creative and critical thinking is a skill that everybody needs in the future. So the more we can upskill the creative and that talent that we have, the more likelihood we're going to see some really impactful results going forward. Deborah, come on in and tell us a bit about the impact and the evaluation, if you would please.
Yes, thank you, Rachel, and good morning. And yes, Rachel, I have to just echo in terms of language and starting people from a place of meaning and a place that's tangible and very action oriented is definitely the key. So I do think that is one of the most important aspects of the programme. So I'm just going to share a little bit of the juicy data that we've gathered from Shift. I'm doing so without slides, which I hope is okay. We have a digital evaluation, which we are happy to share widely, and that will be ready in the next 10 days or so. So if anybody would like a copy of that, I'll stick my email address in the chat and just get in touch with me, and I'm very happy to share. As colleagues have said already, this programme worked brilliantly digitally, and we're now on a path that we won't come back from. But I also just wanted to make a point that is very important right now, which, and colleagues have touched on it, which is our connection with freelancers and the connection of institutions like ours with freelancers. There is a completely interdependent relationship between arts education institutions and the freelance community. And I just think it's important that we really acknowledge that. And I think Shift in many ways kind of turbocharged that, because we involved so many freelancers in that process. So that's just a key point there. So in terms of just general feedback, the feedback right through the week showed that people felt very supported, very well cared for, which with 100 people on an online program, I think takes some doing. And the online experience opened up an ease of communication and multi-channels, but for us as organisers, allowed us to spot challenges, places where we could adapt and pivot really quickly. So that was fab. So the real questions, I suppose, are what changed for people as a result of participating on Shift? What kind of development trajectory did they travel from day 1 to day 5? And how can Shift and programs like this help with upskilling and preparation for a changing economy? So these are really important things. So a couple of headlines. Over 60% of the Shift cohort were graduates. They were 2020 and 2019 graduates who were really facing some big challenges. And the rest of the cohort were 3rd and 4th years and postgraduate students. Program satisfaction rates were really high. 100% participants scoring a 3 to 5, with 1 being lowest, 5 being highest. And while in terms of the participant profile and the skills profile, we obviously had some information from their applications, but we did a skills audit at the beginning of day 1 and again at the end of day 5, just to see how things were moving, and some really interesting things came up. So just a few of those to share with you now are: people noted a 43% increase in skills in managing and costing time. That was a really, really important one. A 67% increase in skills in sales and marketing. A 94% increase in skills around setting up a company of whatever shape or ilk. And a 96% increase in business modelling, and that includes freelance modeling, working as a self-employed model. So that was huge for people. There were lower increases in the areas around soft skills, confidence, public speaking, etc. But I mean, these are things that are strong within our institution, so we wouldn't expect to see a huge growth in those. Though interestingly, people really valued them as parts of the program and really want to keep that. And then just some other kind of big ones, the reasons we do it in the first place. 68% of our participants said the week on Shift has really helped them to shift their thinking about their future. And 78% of our participants said it's helped them with action planning and to take their next steps. So I think, as Miriam touched on, people really valued the perspectives and insights from participants from other institutions, just a whole different set of problem solving and ideas. They really appreciated the access to the broad range of freelance creative practitioners, and hearing about their own situation, how they were managing with COVID as well, I think was just so important for everyone to hear. Many of our participants, you won't be surprised, wanted to set up social enterprises or big projects with social impact. In terms of what's happened since and how we engage with the community, we have a very gentle monthly check-in, which is an online coffee morning, and people can come and go and check in with each other. But it has been a place for us to keep an eye on what's actually stuck for people and where are the ongoing challenges. So most of the people that access this ongoing monthly check-in are graduates. They're looking for connection and community and a way of checking in with each other. We're about to do a 6-month survey, impact survey, so we will get more data there. But just to end on a couple of really nice little anecdotes that we've picked up from our 2020 cohort and things that they're doing that are a direct result of Shift. One participant has shared with us that she's secured a significant artist development grant, And she feels that since Shift, she's actually getting more traction generally with her funding applications. Another is a new music and dance collaboration, making brand new work. There's a science and visual art network that's emerged. Two of our participants from two different institutions have set up a Shift online co-working space for each other, so that, and again, these are all graduates who need to just check in and work together, test ideas, do a bit of pitching. And a last one, which I thought was really lovely, was one of our jewellery participants had a bit of a breakthrough in terms of costing and pricing her own work. And through Shift, she understood that actually she was not her own customer. And I think, Rachel, this maybe came from you actually. She was not her own customer. She couldn't afford the work that she was creating, but her target market could. And just unhooking herself from that thinking has really opened up her market. And she is now, I believe, starting to sell more products. So it's great for us to start to hear those results. So I think I've probably gone over my time, Rachel, have I?
So that's us. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share Shift with you. We do believe, and actually hopefully have demonstrated, that it's been a transformational project for the students that have been involved. That classic piece when networks are frozen, we've unlocked it and they're able to network together. A crucial part of being a creative freelancer. People have got the skills, the confidence and the tools to go forward. Even in this unprecedented time, people are making a success of it. So please do put Q&A in the chat box. Ask us questions if you want follow up. I've put Deborah's email in there so you could get a copy of the evaluation when it comes live. But thank you so much for your time. Back to you, Maciek.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you, Rachel, Libby, Miriam, and Deborah. I was very happy to see a lot of your enthusiasm. And I must say that your video was also giving me goosebumps, you know, which you can imagine is not often the case for civil servants to feel goosebumps. So that's definitely a nice feeling on this this midday. Yeah, I've seen there was quite a few comments coming in the Q&A, so I will just happily now throw them at you, and then maybe we can still have a bit of a follow-up discussion based on what you presented. There was a question, if you could please share the link of the London's program that was an inspiration for Shift. So maybe if you could please do that in the chat box. I was thinking that for the digital evaluation upcoming that you mentioned, we of course can discuss this with OECD partners, but I think if of course this is going to be a public document, I think it would make sense to also share it on the joint OECD European Commission project website, if you don't mind, because this way, of course, we can disseminate it further. Now there was a question on the follow-up in relation to your alumni. I really love the fact that you shared some of these anecdotal stories with us. And so, yeah, I would like to ask you a question indeed, like, how are you planning to follow up with your alumni to see how their career paths unravel? And maybe you also have some interesting stories to share when it comes to this wonderful mix of students you had. We love to underline the fact that culture and creative sectors are very transversal by nature, and then they actually bring together people from different cultural subsectors. Maybe you have some interesting stories to share on let's say different collaborations that started or different exchanges that started. And last but not least, I wanted to pick up on a question that was actually asked earlier in the previous discussion, previous panel, on initiatives that are started by public institutions versus initiatives started by professionals themselves. You actually spoke about the fact that in your case you were involving freelancers, but I would like to maybe ask you about this bottom-up and top-down dynamics in your project, if you could maybe develop a bit on that. So I don't know who wants to answer that, but yeah, Rachel, maybe you want to kind of direct it to your colleagues now.
No, of course. I think absolutely, Deborah, coming in on some of the first points on the alumni and the follow-up conversations, and then actually, to be honest, this could go on for days, Maciek, because Miriam, Libby, and Deborah have got loads to say about the next part of the question around the dynamics. So I'll let them jump in as and when. But Deborah, do you want to grab the alumni piece first?
Yes, yeah. So I think just to say, I mean, those little stories were from the most recent cohort of 2020. We are aware of other collaborations that started from 2019. I know Libby might like to say a bit more about a co-working space, Salt Space, that emerged from Glasgow School of Art and other colleagues, which is a really great story. So I leave that one to Lib. But we do want to keep engaging with the progress of our alumni. And you know, this is hard for all of us. Many of us have been doing this for years. And I think, so we are planning a 6-month impact study on this recent cohort and an 18-month check-in with the 2019 cohort. We do also want to get some research going, and so that we can pull out a kind of longer term stories of impact. But I think we all know that programs like Shift fit within an ecology and a wider pipeline of influence and experience. So I don't, you know, it's not easy to say that someone is doing X solely because of one program, but we felt that our ecology, at least in a local sense, was missing a program like this for people who are emerging from formal education into professional practice. And I think, I know at the Conservatoire, that, you know, many of our participants on the program had done bits of all of the things that we developed, or they'd done them in a slightly different way through their degree or postgraduate studies. But putting them all together in this way over 5 days with that level of energy is what really made it stick. And I think it's also people self-selecting to join Shift at the time that's right for them is another really important factor. So have I said enough on that, Rachel?
Yeah. No, cool, absolutely. Libby, can I bring you in? Because I think there's a couple of things you want to pick up on, but I just wanted to ask you the same question about the top down and the bottom up approach, because that's never the impression that I certainly have had from the work that you do within GSA. It's very grounded in the needs of the students, and also Salt Space has been a remarkable development.
Yes, Salt Space was actually a direct result of the first Shift in 2018. So like Deborah was describing, these monthly meetings we have now online with the alumni from 2020. In 2018, we could actually have real meetings, which we had every month at the School of Art. And students, or graduates, sorry, were very keen to continue working and find some way of getting some space in which they could develop their own practice as well as manage community arts projects. And at the same time, I'd been working with City Property, who own a lot of the property in Glasgow, who were wanting to make some use of empty, vacant retail units. This became part of a collaboration with the City Council to create a project called Meanwhile Space, which essentially was inviting creative organisations to apply to take over these vacant spaces in the east part of the city to be workable and kind of re-energize that part of the city. So very long story short, the graduates, the alumni from Shift 2018 formed a co-op and applied for Meanwhile Space and now run as a community interest company. They have 3 spaces in the east end of the city. They run one as an exhibiting space, another as a community art space, and another as an artist residency space. And they have done so well. They have kept those spaces going. They are now official tenants, and they organize it very well. They're very good at their social media promoting scheme. So they've done very well, and that all came out of Shift. So it's very ambitious, but I think Shift gives people confidence to pursue their creative practice. And that's what enables them to do what they don't think is possible, but it actually is.
Thank you very much, Libby. I'm afraid we'll have to move now to the next presentations. But again, thank you very much, Scottish colleagues, for your presentations. And now from Scotland, we're actually moving to Belgium and Flanders. And I'm very happy to give the floor now to Lise Coleman, she's an acclaimed pianist and artist, but she's also professionally affiliated with Royal Conservatoire of Antwerp in Belgium. And she's going to tell us on how to prepare students for a self-managed professional career in performing arts. So Lise, I'm very happy to give you the screen. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for the invitation to share our philosophy at the Royal Conservatoire of Antwerp towards entrepreneurship in the artistic sector. I'm very happy to show how we, in our national artistic and pedagogical context, have developed a course on this very relevant matter, a matter which keeps changing. And so does our course, but our main objective remains the same. We want to prepare our students to become confident, highly qualified, self-managing professionals. Can we have the next slide? Thank you. The common first reaction among performing artists, and especially amongst classical musicians, is why do we need this? Traditionally, classical musicians see themselves in rather fixed professional careers, such as orchestra, choir, and/or teaching. But just as theater and dance companies have evolved from this one straight path from graduations to retirement, the music sector is also changing. That is the first reason to include entrepreneurship in an education program and into a career, as a reaction to the fact that the artistic profession is in flux and is experiencing a shift from traditional stages toward multiple employability, flexibility, and self-management, where artists themselves need to take control and ownership of their own career. The second reason is perhaps more close to the heart. It is a practical training of making projects happen from passion to profession. In this perspective, the course wants to give an answer to questions such as, how can I make a living doing what I love? How can I realize my ambitions and my dreams? And what skills are necessary? Are they completely new skills, or are they perhaps a different application of skills that every artist already has, such as ambition, perseverance, communicative skills, and so forth? As a higher arts education institution, an important role is reserved for us. Here you can find our mission statement, which of course focuses on a high artistic quality, but which also includes the need for artists to position themselves in society, taking up a responsibility towards this same society, but also towards the sustainability of the artistic profession itself. When a student enters our programs, he or she enters at the top left square in this graphic, an individual who has already had extensive coaching and training in métier, in technique, repertoire, and practice. We engage ourselves to expand their action radius towards different directions and mainly towards other agents and environments. We introduce them into collaborative artistic practice. Performing arts is not a solitary profession. An artist needs his colleagues on different levels: inspirational, practical, collaborative, creative. Another direction is outward, towards the public space. Art should not be locked up in an ivory tower. It needs to interact. As such, an artist is positioned in this public space, and somewhere within this space is also the audience, a flexible entity which is dependent on the specific project. The challenge for both entities is to find each other. As a higher arts education institutions, we are positioned on the crossroads between the artistic professional world and higher education. We hold a rather unique position, but we do not operate on an island. We are integrated in a larger association, and for us, that is the AP University College. AP hosts 4 bachelor departments and 2 schools of arts, the Royal Academy and the Royal Conservatoire, with 5 programs in music and performing arts, as you can see them here. As a part of the University College, we benefit from several existing and general initiatives and features. For example, AP has a special statute for student entrepreneurs. These students will already take up an enterprise while they are still studying. They benefit from a larger flexibility in their curriculum, customized study programs, and if needed, adjustments in deadlines and exam rosters. Of course, there is room for education in entrepreneurship, and each program and each department can implement this in their curricula, tailored to the specific requirements of that professional area. And last but not least, AP is a partner in a general network called Take Off Antwerp, sorry. This is an alliance of several organizations and institutions. You can see them here. At the Conservatoire, we approach the matter very much from the professional artistic reality, and our course is hand-dependent and adapted to what we think is most beneficial for our students in their professional life. First of all, we approach the matter very hands-on and adapt our learning and teaching methods to practice rather than to theoretical knowledge. The examples, the assignments are linked to a hypothetical case study, but where possible, this case study is linked to an existing project, for example, a festival, a CD recording, a series of performances. These projects might be part of the study program or on an independent base. We work in modules on different topics, and a student can more or less assemble his or her own lesson package according to what matter is more or less relevant for his or her case study. For example, a composer might need more information on copyright and royalties, while a dance performer might need more knowledge on how to communicate technical requirements to a crew of technicians. All information, however, is accessible for all students. At all times, there's room for feedback and personal guidance, and all of this we see framed within our objective to make students self-reliant and independent with the support we and our partners can provide them with. Here you see some of the topics that are addressed in the course, from a business plan, going from inspiration to creation of a project, through digital marketing, subsidies, starting to freelance, and career coaching. Entrepreneurship is very dependent on the professional reality, a requirement, so it must stay up to date. Some things we have learned along the way during the last 10 years that we had the course is don't make this too theoretical, but instead focus on the strengths of the students, their soft skills, their interests, make it real, set achievable goals, and present identifiable situations. Show good practices and inspire, and make visible what might be too abstract for 21 years old, and make it accessible and allow flexibility to happen from one year to another in the course. Focus on skills instead of knowledge, and investigative attitudes and researching skills. And all of this has the same underlying reason as always: focus on applicability and future self-management. In the design and in the presentation of the course and content, we highly rely on support and guidance from numerous partners. By involving them directly into the course, we are not only certain we have the most up-to-date information, we are also able to follow evolutions as they happen, and for the future of our students, we can initiate a relationship between them so that whenever in the future an alumnus has a question, he or she will know where to turn for an answer. Not only for the course on entrepreneurship, but for the entire learning line, we rely on our partners and on the professional environment. As an introduction for our students into their future role, we have a course called Artists in Society. This is a reflective course on the position of the arts and artists in relationship with the audience and society. Directly linked to the course of entrepreneurship, music students have creative projects, education students have art creative projects. These are practical and pre-professional projects where students apply what they have learned in terms of development, organization, and performance of a non-traditional artistic project from the creation until the performance. This is a 2-year learning line. In the first year, students take on a more participative supporting role as well as an artistic one. In the second and final year, each student takes on a leading role as well as artistic. We need our relationships with the city of Antwerp also. Not only to facilitate this, but also for the viability of the whole learning line, it is our partner in developing relationships with the sector and with individual artists geographically, economically, societally, etc. The city has a facilitating role, helping with providing locations, communication channels, and so forth. The city also invests in projects and festivals where our students can gain experience. And last but not least, via its funding policy, the city is also a financial partner for future viable projects of our alumni. Now, to conclude, I quickly wanted to show two of our recent success stories. This was the first one was a graduation project of one of our double base students last year. Eline organized from scratch a concert in one of the largest halls in Flanders, the Queen Elizabeth Hall in Antwerp, home to the Antwerp Symphony Orchestra. She hired the 3,000 seats hall. She formed an all-female orchestra. She curated an all-female program and arranged single-handedly the communication, marketing, ticketing, promotion, and even financing, mainly by crowdfunding and by private investments. And the next one, this is an example of a project by one of our student entrepreneurs, a saxophone player with managerial ambitions. He recently founded the Belgian Saxophone Choir, which is a professional all-saxophone orchestra. Each year we learn and we adapt our course and its content to the changing reality. We do have some experience and we have led out our relevant network, but of course this is a very local, a very national matter. We're certainly not the only conservatoire nor the only country that addresses this issue, and a lot of initiatives do seem to pop up. Recently, for example, we embarked on an international capacity building journey together with our partner department of AP Management and Communication, and international higher education institutions from Finland, Italy, Uzbekistan, Tunisia, and Palestine. The project is called MUSAI, Multidisciplinary Skills for Artist Entrepreneurship. Together, we want to establish a viable and sustainable learning and teaching model in the partner institutions that have reached out to us, not in order to impose our methods, but to stimulate the development of a relevant, locally embedded model. Well, to conclude this presentation, I again want to thank you for the opportunity to present our way of working and thinking. I think it is one possible learning and teaching design, but what is more essential is that it will never be a fixed course. We will always have to adapt to the environment, to society, and to the audience, as well as to the artistic developments as a constantly evolving relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz, for your presentation and for sharing with us the approach from the Royal Conservatoire of Antwerp. I must say, I really loved your tagline, from passion to profession, and I think that's something we should all keep in mind while discussing this topic. And I wanted to ask you a question very specifically about adaptation to changing realities. So this is also something you mentioned, because you did not mention it, but of course there is this elephant of the room of COVID-19. So I wanted to ask you what kind of impact it had on your practices, and how did you cope with that, and how you are still coping with that? Did it also make you rethink some of the approaches you have in teaching entrepreneurship?
Yes, first of all, the way in which we present the course, we can't do it live. We're still all stuck at home, so everything is digital. But also keeping in mind that it is very hard for our students to find their way. Now we formed modules, so they can puzzle it into their own schedule. That's one thing, but on the other side, of course, the things they have to realize, they also have to be adapted to this present situation. There's a lot of digital initiatives starting, and we tried to provide the help and the technical support where we can. And at first we thought, this is never going to work, this is never going to happen. But at the same time, we saw that there was a new energy. So people were stuck at home, they couldn't play together, but all of a sudden they found ways to do it and to create new things and to learn as they were doing and adapting. And I think some of the things we and they have realized now, they're going to stick. They have found ways to find each other, to create through the computer, through Skype, whatever is possible right now. And it might not be traditional, like finding a hall as Eline did and creating a concert and forming an orchestra. They did other things. And I think as long as you can stimulate them and try to listen what it is they actually want and to help them to create and form the idea, we can help them realize that sometimes they just need the possibility to lay it out, make a plan. And the creative ideas, we don't have to help them with that. They are there. Just the realization, that is something that they need help with.
Okay, thank you very much, Lise, and thank you very much also for finishing this COVID-19 question with on a positive note. So I'm very happy with that. Yeah, and now, because we still have two more speakers waiting, I'm very happy to move to Germany, Italy, and Portugal to hear about ARTE, the Art of Employability project, which is funded by Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And I'm very happy to give the floor now to Kerstin Guleman from the Technical University of Dortmund in Germany. So Kerstin, I hope you are there with us and able to connect. Please, the screen is yours.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. As already told, I will just shortly introduce a project funded by Erasmus Plus program. And there's a short overview on the next slide. Yeah, we have the partner countries already mentioned, and it goes on from end of 2019 until end of this year. And the approach is slightly different from the ones we heard already, but still has a lot to do with artists and entrepreneurship, as it aims at fighting youth unemployment in the Mediterranean region with the help of theater methods and entrepreneurship training linked. And how we do this is we have pilot projects in every country using the Job Act approach, which is linking theater training and job coaching since 14 years or so in Germany. And I show you how it is done in Italy. This is the pilot project Impulso, it's called, and what they do is they start with the casting with unemployed young persons, different specific target groups, like they can be special vulnerable people with more problems out of different backgrounds, or just also college graduates. As you know, in Italy, the youth unemployment is still very high. And what they get is a drama workshop from the theater trainers who work together with the job coaches in those projects, or might just do both. And this goes on over a very short time period of 4 weeks. They are learning the methods and are trained to perform a play on stage. And in parallel, in 1 day a week, they have job coaching where they are getting an entrepreneurial mindset training, which not only will help them to get entrepreneurs and develop a business, but also to market their own strengths. Like the aim is to give them this entrepreneurial spirit, which is needed to just put themselves on the job market in these difficult times. And can I get one back? Yeah, thanks. And this is included in the training is like business cases, a pitch, and then problem-solving approach. Then there's the premiere of the theater play, which they're performing on stage, virtual or real, due to COVID. And then there's a job shadowing where they, in an 8 days paid internship. It's longer in Germany, but in Italy, these internships always have to be paid. So it's a bit more difficult to find something here. Okay, next slide, please. There's some images from the project. So the place where it's normally some big theater to help them build up self-confidence in the process, together with the entrepreneurial mindset. And well, in these times, that was mostly took part on Zoom. But the premiere was still at a theater, just with half the places or a third of the places covered, and together with the streaming for a broader audience. That on the right, you saw the announcement of the premiere. Okay. So this is what they do in this job coaching. There is the steps of self-assessment to get a deeper understanding of their own skills, and then the network idea, like who do I have to connect to, who do I know already, like getting aware of their own network, and skills of pitching, finding aims, developing a personal biography strategy for themselves, and tools and services they can use for an active job search. Then it's called Digging for Gold, how to search the web in this context, and an action plan, like how do I reach my goal. And out of this, they are in groups, they find a pitch, they're creating a business idea and pitch them for others. And it was apparently amazing what they came up with. And the winner got a free subscription to some co-working space for a month, I think, yeah, with a workstation per group member. And now, yeah, then we are in the stage that in this project that the premiere has just taken place, and the next step will be the job shadowing. And well, they got, even in these times, places for all the participants, with 25 companies involved in different sectors, also culture. And project results will be maybe of interest for you. We will have this entrepreneurial mindset training as a tool you can use, written down or as video. This is what it consists of, like it's the concept, the role of the entrepreneur linked to theater, and how theater can be used in this context to boost entrepreneurship spirits, what tools you can use, and a trainer concept, like how can you be an entrepreneurial trainer. And the project results too, which is already online, is a blog where you can inform yourself or take part on the everyday life and work in this pilot projects in the different countries. We had, I think, 3 pilot projects already done, one in Germany, 2 in Italy, and they have multilingual posts there, always in the language of the land and in English, so everyone will be able to understand it. So feel free and invited to go there and look what we do, and maybe if you're interested in the results, you can contact us. That's a short overview of the Arte project.
Thank you very much, Kerstin, for your presentation. Just a short question I have to ask you, because I've read that your project actually builds up on a previous Erasmus Plus collaboration, which had the aim of sharing this Job Act approach, which is apparently used in Germany and which combines theater work and job coaching, and it's been used for quite some years now. So maybe if you could just say a very few words about that. Actually, what is this Job Act approach? And because I understand this was also one of the departure points for the Arte project, right?
Yeah, it's basically the idea was to overcome unemployment, long-term unemployment for problematic groups. So the idea was to use theater and performance to help these unemployed people find themselves, develop their strengths, and find work. And this was donated with a very high price, I think, in 2004 or something. And the founder even won a very big federal prize for the idea. And it's now they have a company, the Projektfabrik, which is has 30 or something employees in Germany, and is expanding with the approach through Europe. So if everyone's interested to join the network, you can feel free to contact us, and then we can find a way maybe to work together in this. And the main idea is always to have a group of unemployed people, and then develop a theater play together with them. And then they will have, through theater, they will develop skills and personality and key competencies. And then they have the performance on stage, which will be an extra boost of self-confidence, and with this feeling of self-confidence they go directly in the internship and can, you know, develop their strengths and show them, and then well, get employment. And it has a very impressive placement rates. We have like 60 to 40% in Germany, where the job market is well, so good. It has been so good that all the rest of the unemployed people are really the ones with the problems, you have to say. And even of those, they get 40% into employment, which is quite impressive. And the numbers from the other countries were good as well. Like Italy managed to get a perspective for all of the participants of school dropouts or ex-prisoners or ex-drug addicts or something. It's really amazing.
Great, thank you very much, Kerstin, for your presentation and for sharing with us. I think this is also quite an interesting message to kind of pass along, that many of these European Union-wide collaborations actually, you know, stem from each other. I also know that you are in contact now with some of the Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation EU projects. Later today, we will also hear from some of them, namely the T-Factor project that deals with urban regeneration, which actually wants to also look at the topic of skills. But yeah, you're going to hear about that later. But you know, I can only say that also on behalf of the European Commission, we're always very happy to see some of this EU-funded examples shared at events. Yeah. So thank you very much, Kerstin. And now I'm very happy to move to Raffaele Trapasso, who represents OECD and coordinates the work of OECD on entrepreneurial and innovative higher education institutions. And he also works on HE Innovate project together with my colleagues from my directorate in the Commission. This is a project that has the aim of allowing higher education institutions to self-assess their innovative potential. So I'm very curious, Raffaele, maybe to hear a little bit about HE Innovate, that you could present this to participants, but above all, what actually does hearing these other participants and other cases, what are your thoughts? How do things that you heard resonate with you? How do they link also possibly to what OECD is doing in that field? So please, Raffaele, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Mashi. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very grateful that Katia Travinka gave me the possibility to be on the first row of this discussion. It was inspiring. Now, HI Innovate, as you say, is done by the European Commission and the OECD in collaboration, and I think is a beautiful experience and shows how working together these two organizations can explore new policy domains and new policy options. I'm here because I was discussing with Katia some ideas, and you know, in the past year we published two reports, one in Italy and one on Austria. They make a clear reference to the possibility to connect entrepreneurship as a mindset, not as necessarily as a business opportunity, but entrepreneurship as a mindset and art, creativity, culture in general. And for instance, I mentioned this case of the Illuminati of Dante in Naples. No, it will be 700 years now from when Dante was born, and the Federico II, the University in Naples, is taking advantage of the largest collection in Europe in the world of Illuminati, which is Middle-Age manuscripts, to digitalize that, and in collaboration with other university, Oxford, etc. And the point was not to do that in cooperation with Google or other GAFA, but develop in-house the digital skills to produce that kind of cultural asset, very important cultural asset. They successfully did so, and they will be contributing very importantly in the next month to all the ceremonies and events related to the anniversary of Dante's born. Then the other point was the Angewandte in Austria, in Vienna, the School of Art of Vienna, which is there is this very visionary rector, Gerald Bast, that developed this program to study complexity. And so it was very interesting for us to see how the study of complexity was perfectly fitting in a school of art and in generating in reality a new way of imagining the future, providing the skills for the future, empowering students, including students of art, with new possibility for their careers. Unfortunately, this was too late to have people from those universities to be involved in this discussion, so you have to bear with me now. But the point I want to make is first, it is now clear that pecunia non olet there is non-olfactory money. And this is very important in this period of crisis where culture, because of COVID-19, is a little bit challenged. At the same time, it's clear that we are consuming a lot of cultural assets, products, processes. The most important podcast in this moment in Italy is a podcast done by a professor of history of middle age, Alessandro Barbero, that is doing a fantastic connection between the third mission activities and the possibility of an entrepreneurial activity. Now, the problem we have is that these are beautiful anecdotes. These are very important stories, but we need to transform these into a systemic approach. We need, I mean, it's quite clear that there is a need for multidisciplinary platforms in which art, design, complexity connect to what is considered STEM, technology, etc., to generate finally a continuity in the way in which we approach knowledge and we approach the future as well. There are some problems in doing that. There are some problems because it's still very hard sometimes to it's a semantic challenge almost, because when you discuss entrepreneurship with some fields of study, of knowledge, of, including culture, there is a misunderstanding because we say, no, but this is creativity. It's not entrepreneurship. I want to quote Albert Tishman, that is a famous German economist, that said, creativity always comes as a surprise to us. In a sense, it's very difficult for us to say, I will do that difficult task because I know that I will be creative, and even if I don't know how to solve the problem, I will be creative, and so anyway, I will overcome. This is not the way in which the human mind works. No, we need to have a knowledge illusion to approach problems, challenges, including at the personal level. So my point is, it is very important that we try to democratize in all higher education systems this idea of the entrepreneurial mindset, not because we want to transform everyone in a businessman, but we want to give the possibility to people to be creative, to deal with complexity, to be proactive, especially in a fluid situation like the one we live, in which, of course, I mean, COVID was the black swan. No one could expect that, but challenges are unfolding one after the other. The financial crisis, the instabilities, are exogenous shocks. So with Katia Travkina, we have discussed a little bit how to cross our path, because HI Innovate is is many things, but is as Mashi you should know, is a self-assessment tool that everyone, every institution, also at the individual level, can see, can take, and is like a mirror. There is no data attached or data production attached to the use of HI Innovate. So everyone can go see the statement and try to understand how far the activities of his higher education institution, of his institutions, are from an ideal situation in which the university is both entrepreneurial and innovative. On the other side, and this is the crossing path, HR Innovate needs the experiences of actors like the panelists that participated, and like the one we had in Naples or in Vienna, to enrich our capacity to connect two different, or not two different, many different words. Because there are experiences, you know, probably about them in Aalto in Finland, other experience in which at a certain point the anecdotes became an approach. And then you merge a school of art with a school of business with an engineering school, and you move the knowledge, the frontier knowledge of humankind to the next level. And I think that COVID, under this point of view, is a paradox, because it's a lot of suffering, a lot of problems, it's a lot of lockdowns, but it's also a turning point, a tipping point, in which proves that we need to change. There is a need of some paradigm shift in the way in which we live. So build back better. Thank you for your attention, and thanks again to Katia for inviting me to this fantastic panel. Thank you very much.
Amazing, Raffaele. Thank you very much. And it's also very, very heartwarming for me to see that within OECD, you're also trying to connect the dots, what Katia is doing, inviting the colleagues from different OECD services. We're actually doing the same in the Commission. And I've seen in the Q&A, there was a question from my colleague, Emanuela de Mena, who actually comes from the Executive Agency for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises of the EU, and who used to work also before that on Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program of the EU. She had a specific question to Raffaele. If you could please share the two OECD reports that you mentioned in the chat, that would be appreciated. I'm very happy, Emanuele, that you're there, because yeah, it looks like the other colleagues from different Commission services have also joined this occasion. So it's great to see this cross-sectoral and cross-domain collaboration. So without further ado, because it's time for lunch, you've been listening to us for quite some time. I'm happy to finish now and hand over to Katia for the, let's say, her final words, and then the very much deserved lunch break for all of us. Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure and honor to be able to moderate this session.
Well, thank you very much, Maciej, and thank you to all the speakers. And I'm not going to say much. Well, we'll resume. We'll restart in 1 hour and a half at 2:30 Paris time, and we'll continue with some exciting projects, well, from Scotland, again from Belgium, and from Europe. And as a teaser, and especially for those of you who are fans of Outlander film, you know that Scotland has a booming screen or film industry. So the producer of Outlander will be with us at that session. So join us at 2:30, please. And bon appétit.